Before there was TikTok, there was this, before humans ever saw their own reflection. Their world was a mystery. They had no idea what they looked like. And when they finally did catch a glimpse of themselves, it was almost magical. This is the story of the first mirror and how seeing ourselves changed everything. Before reflections. Imagine being alive 2 million years ago in the savannas of East Africa. You have no language, no roads, no chairs, but you do have a reflection. Not in a mirror, though. The best humans can do is look at their reflections in still water, which means the only way to see yourself is when you happen to pass by a lake and the conditions are just right. The problem is that your reflection looks kind of weird. It's coming at you from an unnatural angle and it's reversed. So instead of looking like a normal human, you look like some strange, distorted creature from another world. So why does this matter? Well, anthropologists believe that seeing these distorted reflections led our ancestors to develop one of humanity's most important myths, the belief that we have souls. Our ancestors didn't understand what they were seeing in the water, so they created stories to explain it, and those stories led them to make one of humanity's greatest inventions, the accidental discovery. It happened around 6000 BCE in a region called Anatolia, which today is part of Turkey. For centuries, people there had been chipping away at pieces of rock to make sharp tools and weapons. But one day someone discovered that instead of making something new, they could take an existing piece of rock and polish it until it became shiny and smooth. And when that person looked into the polished rock, they saw themselves. That was our first manufactured mirror. At first, it was just a small improvement over the natural mirrors of still water. But soon humans realized that they could make the mirror bigger, smoother, and more durable if they used a special type of rock called volcanic obsidian. Polished to a fine sheen, these obsidian mirrors could last for generations. And because they were made by chipping away at the rock, they had a perfectly smooth surface without a single blemish, which meant that they gave you a perfect reflection. Ancient innovation. Soon the Mesopotamians started making mirrors out of polished copper. Their first mirrors date back to around 4000 BCE, and they would use them, not just to admire their appearance, but also to peer into the darkness and ward off evil spirits. Then around 3000 BCE, the Egyptians started making mirrors out of bronze and later silver. Because of its reflectivity, silver quickly became the metal of choice for mirrors, even though it was incredibly expensive. Only the pharaohs and the very wealthy could afford to buy one. In fact, ancient rulers loved their mirrors so much that they took them with them to the afterlife. Archaeologists have found many mirrors in Egyptian tombs, including one in the tomb of Tutankhamun, which is believed to have been used by his mother, Queen Nefertiti. But don't get the wrong idea. Ancient mirrors were never just vanity tools. In many ancient cultures, mirrors were seen as magical objects that could capture your soul. That's because they were often shaped like the sun, which was seen as a god or a powerful spirit. The Mesopotamians believed that the goddess Ishtar traveled in a chariot pulled by horses, and every time she stopped, her mirror fell to the ground and turned into a star. And the Egyptians believed that the sun god Ra used a mirror to watch the humans on Earth. Because of this, only the ruling class could use mirrors, since it was a privilege granted to them by the gods. But once commoners got a taste of self-admire, they wanted in on the action. By the Middle Ages, mirrors were still expensive, but they were much more widely available. And by the Renaissance, they were a common household item. The profound impact. Today, we have mirrors everywhere. In our bathrooms, in department stores, on our smartphones. And since we're surrounded by mirrors literally all the time, we've stopped thinking about how weird it is that they exist. The fact is, though, that the first mirror was one of humanity's greatest inventions because it changed everything. When humans first saw their own reflections, it sparked the invention of language, art, and culture. It led us to invent new ways of seeing ourselves, and in doing so, we invented society. Mirrors allowed humans to become self-aware, and that changed everything. Okay, thanks. Bye.